Arizona Cardinals are now sitting 4-2 in the NFC West, right behind the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the Arizona Cardinals coming off a dominant win against the Dallas Cowboys for this Monday Night Football game. I honestly thought that this game was going to be a high-scoring game. Nevertheless, the Arizona Cardinals won in such a dominant fashion that I felt like this was appropriate to speak about the Arizona Cardinals progression so far this year. This is going to be our Week 6 recap. Obviously, there's a few cons that I wanted to talk about and a lot more pros winning in this fashion, guys, but we're gonna go ahead and dive into it here shortly. Go ahead and roll that intro. Guys, welcome back. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, I wanted to talk about the Week 6 recap of the Monday Night Football game, Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if you're not walking into work, into school with that type of mentality, that Victory Tuesday mentality, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like this is a great win for the Arizona Cardinals, and we finally deserve to be on the spotlight and win in such a fashion that we did. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and mention to every single new person out there that is an Arizona Cardinal fan, please consider subscribing to the AZ Sports Fan on YouTube. We do everything with live streams, getting subscribers on our live streams, reactions, post games, previews, all that different stuff. We talk about draft, so I definitely encourage you to hit that like button. Go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the AZ Sports Fan and put that notification bell on just so you're aware of when the next video drops and when I go live. Before we get started, I wanted to talk about just the few cons to this game. Now, usually I have a list of pros and cons. Now, this week we had a lot more pros than we had cons, so let me just go ahead and talk about the cons just a little bit, and it all stemmed from that first quarter game. I don't know if Kyler Murray had the yips. I don't know if he was just too excited, too amped up, but it seemed like he was missing a lot of throws to his wide receivers, regardless if you want to say it was the wide receiver for running the wrong route, but there was a lot of frustration coming from Kyler Murray and the wide receiving core. Now, obviously, that needs to be cleaned up. Regardless of whose fault it is, come together and making sure that everything looks good. But honestly, our offense looked really terrible in that first quarter. I'm glad everything seemed to turn around when the game started to progress. I think that's one of the main problems here. I think they need to figure out why Kyler Murray is overthrowing these wide receivers, especially when they have two deep shots to Andy Isabella, and either Andy Isabella wrong the wrong route, he overthrew it. Whatever the situation is, it just needs to be fixed. Also, in that first quarter, I felt like it was a big emphasis for the Arizona Cardinals to try to get the running game going with Kenyon Drake, and Kenyon Drake didn't seem like he was able to get things going. Just for that first quarter, I don't think the offense was gelling at all. It seemed pretty bad for the offensive side look. Regardless if you want to say, hey, the Cowboys had a really good game plan coming into that first quarter, and then obviously it all fell apart, but whatever the situation is, we need to get a better stat line, because I think sometime during that first quarter, Kyler Murray was like 3 out of 12 or something like that. He wasn't completing very much as far as stats go, so we definitely got to make sure that all that gets cleaned up. I think the moment that everything started to turn around, the momentum shift started to turn, is when Ezekiel Elliott got 2 fumbles. Now, the first one was caused by, I believe it was Budda Baker, and it was recovered by Jordan Phillips. The second time, I believe it was Jordan Phillips that caused it, and somebody else recovered it. So those were the big key of emphasis, because we ended up getting 14 points off those 2 turnovers. So amazing fashion for the Arizona Cardinals to take advantage of those 2 turnovers. Now, it seemed like Zeke Elliott was getting in his head. I don't really know exactly what was going on, but he hit himself in the head and very frustrated with the way his gameplay was going. Maybe he was frustrated with the Cowboys offense, maybe he was frustrated with himself. Regardless of what it is, we got into their number one weapon's head, and that was the best opportunity for the Arizona Cardinals to pounce, and that's exactly what they did. Christian Kirk had a awesome touchdown with a roundabout, pretty much kind of like a jet sweep, but it was more of a roundabout type of thing. Walked into the end zone, got a touchdown there. Also, Christian Kirk ended up getting another touchdown by a big deep pass by Kyler Murray. So kudos and great job for Christian Kirk on that aspect. And Drake probably had one of his best games. He had over 120 plus yards rushing. I believe it was 2 to 3 touchdowns. So amazing job on that. Kyler Murray also got a rushing touchdown. Everything was getting good. Honestly, I was a little worried about DeAndre Hopkins not getting his receptions, his yards, but there was one play where he ended up going up the middle and pretty much catching a ball and taking it almost to the house. So he ended up getting some yards there. So I'm glad that the Arizona Cardinals are feeding the people that, are playmakers, and I'm really excited to see exactly what's going to happen for the future. But I do want to also give a big game ball to this specific player. Now, I know the absence of, Chandler Jones was really big. It hurt a lot of us, and we're all, scounging around and trying to figure out what's going to happen for the Arizona Cardinals now that Chandler Jones isn't there. It's really weird to say, but our defense seemed a lot better. I don't know what it is, but we seemed like we played a lot better, a lot more unison together, a lot more for each other, that Chandler Jones wasn't there. Maybe they were playing for him because he wasn't there and he's going to miss the rest of the season. That's definitely possible, but you got to give it to Dennis Gardeck. Although he didn't get a sack, and it didn't show up on the stat line, Dennis Gardeck did a lot to make sure that he was basically seen and caused pressure to Andy Dalton. So I want to give a real big shout out to Dennis Gardeck. Although it didn't show up on the stat sheet, but I seen you, man. I seen you out there. This is a perfect example of somebody that's really taking advantage of an opportunity that he's giving within the NFL, which don't really come very often. So congratulations. You are really doing a very good job for this defense. So thank you so very much for doing what you're doing, my friend. I also want to go ahead and give a shout out to the defense here. The defense held it down whenever we were going through our situation on the offensive side of the ball. We were trying to figure out what are we going to do, what's going on. The defense came out clutch, and everything was just looking really good for the defense here. As far as stat lines go, I have a list of a lot of great things that happened. We had Hassan Reddick get involved. Hassan Reddick had 2 sacks. Dre Kirkpatrick had an interception. Regardless if you thought that was a PI on CeeDee Lamb, it ended up going to our favor. So Dre Kirkpatrick got an interception. Jordan Hicks had a kind of a boneheaded almost an interception, but he ended up dropping it. But I mean, regardless, and some people say that's why he doesn't play wide receiver, but that probably could have been a pick 6. Yeah, it was just really good all around for our defensive side of the ball. We were running to the ball. Everything was looking good. But for my number 1 MVP of this entirety of the game, obviously it's on the defensive side of the ball. I got to give it to my dude, Mr. Budda Baker. This guy was on the field and he was balling out. If you did not see Budda Baker throughout this game, blitzing multiple times, causing pressure to Andy Dalton, you probably weren't watching the Arizona Cardinal game because Budda Baker was looking like a guy that was shot out of a cannon time and time again, and he was making sure that his number 1 priority was to get Andy Dalton, put him on the ground, and I'm really excited about the usage of Budda Baker from here on out. If we can start seeing that a lot more, man, good luck to a lot of these quarterbacks that think they have a lot of time, because when Budda Baker is going to come after you, watch out. This guy is so quick. It's amazing to see Budda Baker finally get some recognition, not just to the national people, but out there, a lot more teams are starting to look and be like, whoa, this guy is really good. Maybe he is the best safety in all of football. Obviously, we've been saying that here for the Arizona Cardinal fans for quite some time, but it really has to take, unfortunately, a game like this, a dominant game for our defense to really show up, to really get some respect on Budda Baker's name. But man, Budda Baker came out to play today. I'm really excited. MVP has to go to Budda Baker just in general, just because I feel like he was everywhere on the field making plays, and my goodness, he is the heart and soul of this defense. I honestly thought at one point it was Chandler Jones, but it seemed like the torch ended up getting passed over to Budda Baker, and this guy is a straight up playmaker. Now, if I missed anything, guys, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm super curious to figure out what you guys think about this game, this dominant win on Monday Night Football against the Arizona Cardinals and the Dallas Cowboys. Put it on the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new, please consider subscribing to the AZ Sports Fan on YouTube, guys. But that's all I got for this episode. Thank you so very much, and I am out. Thank you so much.